Hey guys, welcome back. Today I have another book review for you today. I had actually hoped to get this review done so it could be posted on the week of September 11th, but I didn't get the book in time. I actually got the book on September 10th, so I wasn't able to do that. But this week I read The Only Plane in the Sky by Garreth M. Graff, and this book is an oral history of September 11th. And as you can see over there, I actually gave this book 5 stars. And I strongly believe that this is one of the best books that I have ever read. It was really hard to put down, even though the subject matter is like quite a lot. But it was so difficult to put down. It was such a good book. And I think that this was an amazing way to tell the story of September 11th. So instead of just having the author recount everything to you, he actually says very little. If he has anything to say, like he's setting the stage for you, he's telling you what happened, what was going on at what time, it's italicized and it's usually not more than a page in there, but the rest of the story is told from people. So this is taken from over 500 personal interviews, and it's not even told as like big chunks of text by one person, like one person tells you their whole story, but it's told minute by minute. The stories are all broken up minute by minute. I'm going to show you on my Kindle kind of what one of the pages looks like. So you can't see this at all, but yeah, sorry. But basically it's got like 3 stories, and it'll say like at the same time like what was happening to different people as you walk through it. And it's, gosh, it really hits you when you're reading it like that. I thought it was really just, it was a lot. I cried in some parts. I think that we all know the story of September 11th. We know that 2 planes hit the World Trade Center, one hit the Pentagon, and one crashed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And this talks to you from voicemails that were left by people on the planes, the families of people that were on the planes, people that worked in the airport, air traffic control, people that were with the president, people that were like working in the towers, people that missed work for whatever reason, the firemen, the Port Authority police, the New York Police Department, the mayor of New York and his entire entourage, and then also just other people throughout the country who were experiencing this on television. And it's so much. It's so like, it was such a good book. I cannot tell you how much like this was a good book. I'm not going to say how much I enjoyed this book, because I think that sometimes if the subject matter is really difficult, it's really hard to say like I enjoyed this book, but it was so good. Like I could not stop reading it. I read it like throughout the weekend, and it was just so good. Like it was such a good book to read. It was such an amazing way to tell the story. And originally, from what I understand, Mr. Graff's idea was to talk about the people who were with the president. So you had like the press, the Secret Service, um, a man named Andy Card, who I don't really know anything about. I had to look him up, but apparently he was the chief of staff, the pilots, just everyone that was around. So you also talk to people on different Air Force bases, so Barksdale and Offutt or something. I'm not sure exactly how to say that. It's out in the Midwest. But it was so good, and it's so like hard to like imagine. And I was alive during September 11th. I was 10, and I will tell you about that at the end. But it was just so like, it really hits you because you have all of these people, and this is one of the parts that interests me the most, is like people's reactions to things. And you have so many people that like became heroes that day. There was this one man who worked in the North Tower, and he was in a wheelchair, and he had been there in 1993 for the bombing in 1993. And after that, his company had bought him an evacuation wheelchair. So 10 of his colleagues, like 10 men, carried this evacuation chair from the 69th floor to the ground. And they would like switch off to get him out. And they got out right before the North Tower fell. It took an hour and a half to go 69 flights of stairs. And it was just like, that is, heart wrenching. And there was one about a firefighter, and he had actually been in Long Island taking a test to like get promoted, and he heard about it. He drove down, and his wife worked in the towers, and she managed to get out, and he was looking for her, and the tower fell, and she had managed to get away, but he didn't know that. And she was at a firehouse in Chinatown because he had said, if something happens, go to a firehouse. And she was like helping them answer phones and everything. And someone finally, like, he got home, and he thought he had lost his wife, and he went inside, and his phone was ringing, and he answered it, and it was like another family member, and he was like, I think she's gone. And they were like, no, she's in Chinatown, she's at the firehouse in Chinatown. And it was just like, I want to cry just thinking about it. It was so like, some of it so just, it's so hard. And there were, firemen, and this is absolutely just devastating to me. So many firemen were trapped because their radios weren't working. They couldn't get the mayday signal for everyone to get out. Some of them were too high up to come down. So there was one group of firemen from ladder 6, I think, and they were trapped in a stairwell, and they could talk to other people on their radios. So this was after the towers had come down, and they talked to one fireman who was like, I'm on the 12th floor, and then he stopped talking. And there was another one, it was like battalion 2, that was stuck like further in than they were, and they talked to each other the entire time until they died. It was horrible. And they were able to this latter 6 was able to be rescued, but the others weren't. And it was just oh gosh, it's horrible. But there were also like so many stories of like good things happening, of like people helping people. There was a huge boat rescue launch from like lower Manhattan to go to New Jersey. And that was like astounding. Like civilians were helping. It's just such a good, like, it's such good stories of like human people, of people doing good things for people. But it was also at the same time absolutely heartbreaking. Like, I cried quite a bit, not like full on sobbing, but just like some tears. It was very sad. But it was a very good book. I want to buy this book so I can have it. But I was not able to find it at Books A Million or anything, though I do know that I checked it out from my library, and it is on Kindle and on iBooks. It's not on Kindle Unlimited, but you can definitely find it. It's also on Audible, so if you have Audible, you can listen to it. I chose not to go the audiobook route just because there were so many people that were talking. I wasn't sure if it was maybe 20 narrators, and it would confuse me, so that I can't tell you. But you can find this book in other places. Like I said, I got it from the library. But it was very good. I definitely suggest reading this. Like I said, it's not the easiest thing in the world to read because the subject matter is not the easiest subject matter in the world to read. But they do have an epilogue that talks about what was happening in the days after September 11th. And then, they've built the National September 11th Memorial and Museum, and then there is the memorial outside. And that is, a beautiful museum. I have been there. I'm not going to put pictures. I don't feel like that's in good taste, but I have been there. I have been to like Ground Zero, and it is an amazing museum. It's so good. It's quite sad, but it's absolutely stunning. I have also been to the Pentagon. We actually, as a family, went to Washington, D.C. In November of 2001, and we did drive past the damaged Pentagon. I have never been to Pennsylvania, to the memorial that is in Shanksville, but all of those are very, I'm gonna say, very difficult places to visit, even if you are not like super connected, if you are a small child, or even if at this point if you weren't born yet. But there are difficult places to visit. It's, it really hits home for you, like what happened that day and everything. September 11th is called a day of infamy, so like I think most people remember, or most people are connected to it in some way. I would say what I was doing on September 11th, because it does say in this book that we all will tell you what we were doing on September 11th, because it is part of our story too. So when September 11th happened, I was 10 years old. I was in the 5th grade at Paradise Elementary School, which was in Ball, Louisiana. I mean, it's still there, I'm sure. Which is right in the center of the state. My teacher was named Miss Barnhill, and I lived on a military base called Camp Beauregard. And we did not know what happened all day long. Our teachers were like going in the hallway, like crying and everything, but we didn't know what happened. we were usually the first kids off of the bus at school, and they skipped the base and we were last. And military police stopped the bus and got on with guns and searched the entire thing. And I went home, and I wasn't really like concerned or confused about this. It was just like, right, whatever. I was 10 years old. I went home, and a neighbor asked me to babysit for him, and that's when I found out. And it still didn't really like, I don't think it really computed for me until I saw the news that night. And then the next day we had a moment of silence at school, and really a lot of things changed for us, like living on a base. We had lived on an open base, which means that there were no gates, no fences. You could just drive in and out. I mean, some of them might have gates or fences. Ours did not. You could just drive in and out. And that changed. They literally brought in an old snow cone stand. It was yellow. If you have ever seen a snow cone stand, they're usually brightly colored. It's literally one of those. And they put it in with MPs in it, and then eventually they built up full gates with guard houses. I assume it is still like that today. I've not been back in, I guess, about 5 years. I haven't been there. So I would assume that it is like that now, or more fortified now. But that was, for us, it was all a day that things changed. So I am interested in the human reaction to September 11th. So I saw this book and I really wanted to read it. It is actually really highly rated. It is rated 4.7 stars on Goodreads with over 11,000 reviews. So I was interested in reading it. I was on a wait list for quite a while, probably like 2 months or so. I was on a wait list, but I definitely think that it's worth a read. I definitely suggest that if you can get your hands on it, you do. It's very, very good. The book itself is not hard to read. The subject matter is difficult. Usually when I read nonfiction, if it's heavy, I will read like a chapter and then I will take a break, do something else, or even like read fiction. And I did not do that with this book. I just read it. I started reading it one night, and then like the next day, every time I read, that was the book that I read, and then I finished it the next morning. So it took me like one full day and then parts of 2 other days. But it was very good. It's quite long. Like, it comes off as quite long. I think it was, like over 500 pages. But it's also not something that you have to rush through. So if you don't want to rush, that is perfectly fine. But I ended up being like sucked into it, and I read it for a very long time. But I'm holding my Kindle because I have it on my Kindle. But it was a very, very good book. I definitely think it is worthwhile to read. And that is all that I have for you guys today. And I will be back next week. Bye.